The plains stretched endlessly, gold and red under the fading light. Wind whispered through dry grass, carrying the scent of dust and the faint tang of blood. Ethan Hale rode slowly, his hand resting on the reins of his last horse. The others had died, some to thirst, some to wolves, some to raiders. This mare, Starling, was all he had left after a year of drought and war. He loved her more than he loved the battered rifle slung across his back. The war between humans and the Dominion had ended months ago, but scars remained across the frontier. Settlements burned, families scattered, and men like Ethan wandered, survivors clinging to the bones of a dying land. That was when he saw her. At first, he thought it was a trick of the light, something pale crumpled in the tall grass. But as he drew closer, he realized it was a figure. Female, not human. Her skin shimmered faintly, like pearl catching the dusk. Blood stained her side, soaking into the earth. Her wings, delicate, translucent, like those of a dragonfly, lay broken beneath her. Her chest rose and fell shallowly. An alien, a Dominion soldier, perhaps. Ethan dismounted, rifle ready. He should walk away. After all the horrors he'd seen, leaving one enemy to bleed out in the grass was mercy compared to what her kind had done to his people. But then her eyes fluttered open. They were enormous, silver like the moon, and filled not with hatred, but fear. "Please," her voice was fragile, like a child's. She tried to push herself up, then collapsed with a soft cry. "Don't leave me." Ethan's throat tightened. He lowered the rifle. "Damn it," he muttered. He dropped to one knee, pressing a hand to her wound. Warm blood seeped between his fingers. She flinched but did not resist. "You'll die out here," he said. Her gaze held his. "I know." Something twisted inside him. She was young, barely more than a girl. Perhaps she had been caught in the retreat, abandoned by her unit. Perhaps she was nothing more than a refugee. Ethan looked at Starling, the mare pawing nervously at the ground. His last horse. His last chance of survival. And then, with a grim shake of his head, he made the choice. "All right, girl," he whispered to the horse. "Looks like you're carrying two tonight." He lifted the alien carefully, surprised by how light she was. Her wings brushed against him like fragile glass. She gasped at the movement, but clung weakly to his shirt. Ethan mounted and settled her across Starling's back in front of him. The mare shifted but obeyed. With a kick of his heels, they moved toward the abandoned homestead he had passed earlier. By the time they reached shelter, night had fallen. Ethan lowered her onto a straw pallet and lit a small fire. She shivered violently, her blood loss making her skin pale. He cleaned the wound as best he could, tearing strips from his own shirt to bind it. She watched him through half-lidded eyes. "Why?" she whispered. "Why help me?" Ethan didn't look up. "Because you're alive. And I've buried enough already." She stared at him as though trying to understand. Finally, she closed her eyes. The night was long. Ethan dozed fitfully by the fire, waking often to check her breathing. Each time, he told himself he was a fool. She was the enemy. If her kind found him with her, they'd kill him without hesitation. But when dawn's first light touched the horizon, she stirred. Her eyes opened wider this time, clearer, stronger. "My name is Saria," she said softly. Ethan nodded. "Ethan." She studied him for a long time. Then, with effort, she reached out and touched his hand. Her fingers were delicate, trembling. "You gave me your horse," she whispered. "The only one you had." Ethan swallowed hard. "Yeah. Don't remind me." To his surprise, she smiled faintly. He shared what little food he had left, dried jerky and stale bread. She ate slowly, unused to the texture, but grateful. As the sun rose higher, Ethan stepped outside to check the horizon. His gut told him danger was close. That was when he saw them. Figures approaching in the distance, silent, swift, their wings catching the morning light. His chest tightened. More of her kind. He hurried back inside. Saria. Riders coming. Your people. Her eyes widened. My sisters. Ethan froze. Sisters? She nodded weakly. They'll be looking for me. We are not soldiers. We are healers. We were caught in the crossfire. I was left behind. Ethan's hand tightened on his rifle. He had saved her, yes, but what would they do when they saw a human standing over her? The sound of wings grew louder. Shadows crossed the doorway. And then they were there, 3 women, nearly identical to Saria, their silver eyes sharp, their movements silent as ghosts. They saw Ethan instantly, rifle in hand. Their spines tensed, wings flaring. Saria forced herself upright, swaying with pain. Stop, she cried. He saved me. He gave his horse, his last one. Without him, I would be dead. The sisters froze. Their gazes shifted between Saria and Ethan. One stepped forward, her expression unreadable. You helped her? She asked in a voice like wind over glass. Ethan hesitated. Then he lowered the rifle. Yeah, I did. The sisters exchanged a silent glance. Finally, the eldest bowed her head slightly. Then you are owed. Ethan blinked. Owed. In our people's law, she said, a life debt binds us. You saved Saria's life at great cost. That bond extends to us, her sisters. We are yours to call upon, should you ever need us. Ethan stared, words failing him. Saria's gaze softened. You gave me hope when I had none. At sunrise, my sisters came. You are no longer alone. They left as silently as they came, carrying Saria with care. Ethan stood at the doorway, the morning sun warming his face, watching until they vanished into the horizon. Starling grazed nearby, weary but alive. Ethan stroked her mane, heart heavy and light all at once. He had given up his last certainty, his last horse, for a wounded girl who should have been his enemy. And yet, in return, he had gained something he could not name, a bond, a promise, a flicker of trust across the gulf of species and war. Perhaps that was what humanity did best. Not the guns, not the fire, but the stubborn refusal to walk away from someone in need. Ethan smiled faintly. The plains still stretched endlessly, but for the first time in a long while, he didn't feel so small upon them. Because kindness, he realized, carried farther than any horse ever could.